In this lesson, I'll give a short introduction to part 1 of the prefixes lessons in the textbook. So first, what are prefixes? Well, you've already studied suffixes. A prefix is in a way the opposite. A prefix is a group of letters added to the front of a word. So, whereas with suffixes you had a jadr zaid the suffix, here you have a prefix zaid a jadr. So the prefix comes first, before the root. What does a prefix do? A prefix changes the meaning of the root word, and we're going to see many examples of how this works. It changes it in many different kinds of ways. Now, on page 57 in the textbook, we're going to see two very common groups of prefixes. Prefixes of number, العدد أو الكمية, and prefixes of negation, nafi. So here at the top, we have a set of prefixes that are prefixes of number. Prefixes of number. First one, semi or semi. It means half or halfway. So an example, a semi-annual magazine is a magazine that comes out every half of a year. Annual from yearly. Semi-annual, every half a year. Or semicircle is half a circle. Uni means one or single. So unidirectional means something that goes in one direction only. اتجاه واحد فقط. Unidirectional. Universe. Also the word uniform, like a school uniform. We call it a uniform because it gives one form or one شكل للطلبة كلهم. One look. A uniform. Mono. Mono also means one. Here, very important word in theology, monotheism. Christianity and Judaism and Islam are all examples of monotheistic religions because they have only one God. Monologue is when only one person speaks for a long time. Monologue, one logos, one word, one speaking, one speaker. And monarchy. Monarchy is when there is one ruler, like a king. Monarchy instead of having a group of rulers or many rulers. Anyway, mono, one. Bi, two. Biannual. Remember, annual has to do with years. Biannual is every 2 years. كل سنتين. Bilateral is having two sides, like a conference. A bilateral conference has two parties, طرفين, bilateral. And biracial is having two races. For example, sometimes some people might say that if a child has a mother who is from, I don't know, Switzerland, and a father who is from Kenya, we might say the child is biracial, or from two races. If bi is two, tri is three. So triangle, مثلث, I think. A triangle has three sides, three angles. The trisagion, it's not, I guess, exactly an English word, but it's a word that people who love theology can know. The trisagion is from Greek, and it's also true in Coptic. Hagios, hagios, hagios. Right? The thrice holy. Three times we say hagios, holy. Once, mono, bi, tri, 1, 2, 3. Multi and poly mean many. More than two, more than three usually. Multinational, having many nations. Multilingual, many languages. Polytheism, right? Polytheism is the opposite of monotheism. Remember, monotheism is one God. Polytheism is many gods. So, for example, if you think about a Jahiliyyah, before Islam, was a time in Arabia of polytheism. And polyglot is being able, a polyglot is a person who can speak many languages. Again, from glot, this root is from the Greek. Polyglot, speaking many languages. I'm sure you can think of your own examples of words that start with these prefixes, and certainly you'll see them often in your reading. If we move down to the next group, these are all prefixes for negation, to say no about something. So the prefix mis, right, means to do something wrongly or to do something incorrectly. So misunderstood means that you understood something wrongly, right? Or a misunderstanding, right? سوء الفهم, right? You understood wrong. To misspeak, in the same way, to misspeak is to make a mistake when you speak, right? So if your teacher tells you that the exam is in February, then the teacher will have to come back and tell you that he or she misspoke because the exam isn't in February, it's before that, in December. Misspeak. Non means not. Non-discrimination, non-Christian, non-Chalcedonian, right? Non-violence, for example, العنف, non-violence. Non means not. Dis is to make something the opposite of, or not. So to discover, يكتشف, right, means to uncover something, right? Something was covered, but now you discovered it, so the cover is taken away, the opposite of covered. Also, to disbelieve is the opposite of to believe in something. Mal means poorly or wrongly or not. Malcontented, malnourished, right? To be nourished means to have all of the vitaminet, all of the protein and all of the carbohydrates and fat, all of the food that you need to be healthy and strong. But if you don't eat the right foods, right, or don't eat enough food, you will be malnourished, and you'll be sick and unhealthy. Anti means against. The antinomian against the nomos, the law. Antinomian against the law. Antichrist, the figure in the New Testament who is the opposite of, who is against Christ. Un means not. Unsuitable, not suitable, مش مناسب. Unstable, unhappy, unhappy. For all of these, and for many prefixes, you'll find, unfortunately, that there isn't an easy rule that you can learn to know which of these negative prefixes to use with a root. Basically, you almost always have to learn by memorizing and by paying attention to what you read. You can't just choose the prefix. A root can take some prefixes and it cannot take many other prefixes, but there's no rule usually. You just have to memorize the words from your reading and from your studying. But there is a rule for these four prefixes here at the bottom, im, il, ir, and in. All of them mean not, but the letter that comes at the beginning of the root can help you know which of these you should use. So, if it's a P, a B, or an M, as in pure, naqi, then to negate you use im, impure, غير naqi. If the first letter of the root is L, then you use il. So the root logical, mantiqi, to negate it, غير منطقي, we say illogical, illogical. If the first letter of the root is R, we use ir. So rational, عقلي أو معقول ممكن, irrational, or even منطقي, irrational, because the first letter is R, irrational, not rational. And for any other letter besides P, B, M, L, R, we use in. So, indescribable. Describable, here we have the suffix able, which you'll remember, I hope, means قابل للوصف. قابل للوصف. Describable. Indescribable is something that cannot be described. Cannot be described. So we might say, for example, that some of the mysteries of God or some of the miracles of God or the greatness of God, they are indescribable. We as humans can't describe them. Those are the prefixes we're going to take in this lesson. There will be a second video in which we'll take other groups of important prefixes that you'll find. Now it's time for you to go and